You may or may not be aware of the limitations of the input type number. I guess if you're a web developer, you've definitely already stumbled upon it, but probably even if it did do the job, you probably felt like something is off. And I want to show you what exactly is off about it. I guess there are some things that you as a web developer really need to consider and keep in mind and know how to overcome those problems when you're using this number type input, because it can really lead to nasty bugs in your project. What we have here is a simple number type input, and I can put any number inside and I can use the stepper and it's gonna log out the value, because here I have a little event listener which listens to the change event and it's gonna console log out the value. The value is coming from this input element, which is bound with an ID to this HTML tag, which is a type of number input. So far so good. Let me go back to the JavaScript. Let's already go to our first point. Blank strings. What does it mean? Let's talk about this notation in JavaScript. So you probably already seen this E sign, something like this. What it means is basically a number which would potentially look like this. So 2.5 multiplied by 10, and 10 is in the power of 3. So this is basically equal to this. But in JavaScript, you can simply represent it with this one. So let's try putting it in our input. So let's write it E3. And you're gonna see that it outputs the value. Well, fair enough, because it's a mathematical notation in JavaScript. Why not? But what happens as soon as we delete 3? And now I guess it's invalid. And when it is invalid, we're simply gonna get an empty string. And as you can imagine, if you're working on a banking software, this can lead to very weird bugs for your customers. Let's say a person has so much money, it's in the power of something, and then when you try to represent it in the UI, it's gonna show an empty string. That can drive someone crazy, right? And this slowly leads me to the next point. So turns out the number type input doesn't only work with numbers. Let's say, okay, I'm gonna clear the console. Let's say I have a 5, but I can also put a plus sign in front of the 5. Well, fair enough, it's in math and it's the same as 5, right? And I can also put minus 5. Again, fair enough, it's negative 5. But what if I put minus 5 plus 2? What is it even gonna output? Is it gonna compute the value? Well, it turns out no, it's gonna return a blank string again, because it thinks that it's not a valid number that you put here. Well, so far it's really weird, I have to admit. And the next point is about min-max, which is also just doesn't make sense. Look, here we have an HTML element, and you probably know that for the type number, you can have min and max values. So, and they're gonna act like thresholds. So if I put min, let's say 5, and I'm gonna save the HTML, it's gonna mean that I shouldn't be able to put a number lower than 5. And fair enough, when I use the stepper, I cannot go below 5, but I can go above 5, all right? But what if I use my keyboard and with some arbitrary number, let's say 3, it's still gonna output 3 because it doesn't catch them for some reason. So my point is, the min max values are basically useless here. And it's quite sad because it's a perfect use case for the browser to be able to do this automatically, but it doesn't. And the last point is the validation anarchy in browsers. So far we've seen all the limitations of this input. I guess if you've already lost all of your hope, I think this is gonna completely ruin it for you. So I'm in Chrome now, and in Chrome I'm gonna try to press some characters on my keyboard, let's say K and J. And as you can see, nothing happens because those are letters. What if I press 9 and 8? Works well. But it works well only in Chrome and Edge. What if I switch to Safari? Now I'm on Safari, and I'm gonna press on K and J, and those are letters and not numbers, but it still works, right? It's super weird. What happens? It doesn't even return anything. It's just there. It means that it doesn't catch any validation, even if those are letters, and it's gonna do the same in Firefox. So this is super sad. So this means that our number input is more or less useless. in most of the cases. So you probably would ask me, what is your advice? How do we overcome this? Well, the thing is, you need to rely on client-side validation. Shout out to Jared, who wrote an article on Stack Overflow blog, because I read about this there. He simply suggests changing this type to text and then adding some validation, but it actually ruins the accessibility because a lot of out-of-the-box features that the number type input provides for screen readers and other accessibility devices are going to be gone. People are not going to be able to use it. So I would stick to type number. But the only thing is that you have to validate it. And the way you would validate it is you, let's say, have a change event listener. And here, whenever you catch the value of it, you simply have to test it against some kind of a regex or regex. And you're going to check whether this is a legit number, whether it has some letters or not. And if so, you're going to simply show a validation error. As simple as that. Well, I hope now you are more or less aware of what's going on with this input type. And I guess I'm going to see you in the next video.